Hello and welcome to Horse Business Marketing Mastery. How to virtually annihilate competition in your market, regardless of how long you've been in business, the economy, or what you sell, and do it legally, ethically, morally, and with a clear conscience. Today we are going into secret number 1, Blueprint to Success, 7 key multimillionaire entrepreneurial mindsets you must implement for lasting success in your horse business or career. You should be on this call today if you own, run, manage, or want to manage, own, or run some kind of horse-related business. If you are in or looking to go into a horse-related career. If you're reasonably good or getting reasonably good at what you do. You don't currently have the success in business or your career that you feel you should, that you feel that it's capable of achieving. You are willing to commit to taking action. You're not just looking for some kind of magic pill that will take care of all of your worries. And you're willing to change, to let go of some of the excuses that you have, that we all have in our lives, to take personal and professional responsibility for your life. I am Patricia Rezzatello. This is me with my now much older thoroughbred Appaloosa gelding Sparky. I have run a number of businesses in the horse industry, including Equine Teleseminar, where we interviewed many clinicians, trainers, and others from the horse industry. Free Horse Gifts, which was the first of its kind, where I brought together other horse business owners and we gave away thousands of dollars worth of products, gifts, digital items. Equine Business Success, which was a joint venture with Cheryl Harless of the Equine Admin. This was the first ever horse business telesummit. It was a blast. We met lots of fabulous people. We all learned tons. It was very innovative. It was a lot of fun. And now we're at Horse Business Marketing Mastery. With all of these, my mission has always been to bring timely information to equestrians and horse business owners worldwide. But I haven't always been successful. For example, I built a rather large email list, but I still struggled to make ends meet. I took classes, I ran classes, I had coaching, I read books, I attended webinars and teleseminars on businesses. In short, I was doing all the right things, but I was getting nowhere really, really fast. Then I had 3 turning points. Turning point number 1 was in December of 2012. I attended a Glazer Kennedy Inner Circle training, which was in Dallas, Texas. And I came away brimming with ideas. I was awed with the possibilities and amazed at the wealth that I observed at the event. There was so much good information. There were so many wealthy people there at the same place as I was, and they ran a product special at the event and sold like, I think it was $3 million worth of coaching in like 2 days. That was just boggling. I was amazed, and I was like, wow, could I do this in my business? Interesting. So the second turning point was in March of 2013. I visited Orlando, Florida to attend Persuasion Engineering. Persuasion Engineering is sales and business languaging and behavior. It's presented by Dr. Richard Bandler and John Laval. And even though I ended up in a ditch on my dash home through a late blizzard in northern Minnesota, I came away with a newfound sense of possibility. just learning how to communicate, just a smidge better, it was amazing. It was like, wow, I could learn how to do this really well, and then I could, actually learn how to communicate with people. Amazing. Turning point number 3 was in June of 2013, and this seems to have been a tipping point for my business and my career. I read Business Brilliant by Louis Schiff. This book got me off my keister, got me actually revisiting some wild, audacious goals that I had set a few years back. And therefore, I was looking differently at what actions I needed to take to achieve those goals. This is Mr. Schiff. So just a brief recap, I've had, since 2005, I've had coaches, I've attended classes, I've attended live seminars, I've listened and put on many, many teleseminars and webinars. I've read a zillion ebooks, special reports, emails, and sales pages, and learned from every single last one of them. I've devoured hundreds of business and personal growth books. But only one ever delved into what we're discussing today. Only one has had the insight and the exercises to actually spark that desire that I could really, really do this. It's not something that I have found anywhere else. So before we get started, which we will get started here in just a moment, be sure to download the study guide if you haven't already from horsemarketingmastery.com/study guide 1. We're going to move very fast, and you are going to want to take a lot of notes as we have a lot of ground to cover. And you may want to come back and rewatch this video or portions of it just to fill in your notes, because we're really going to cover a lot of ground today. Now, this training is running about an hour. As you have questions, enter them into the comment box at the bottom of the page. I will get to those. Are you ready to go? And when you stay until the end, I will have a special gift for you. 7 Steps to Belief Change, which is a 13-minute, $47 value bonus video on how to quickly change a belief all by yourself in 7 easy steps. Okay, let's dive right in. Mindset is the key. It is the golden ticket, if you will, to any success. Whether it's in business, it's in riding, it's in training, it's in competing, it's in relationships, it's in whatever area that you want to succeed in. Mindset is what gets you there, and mindset is what can keep you from it, depending on how you manage to manage that mindset. So first off, why are you in business? Many people go into business for reasons of freedom or independence from a 9-to-5 job, independence from a boss or a company that doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't know how to run the business. Many people go into business because they can do the job better than others that they are working with, and they see opportunities, they see possibilities that should be addressed. And that's a good thing. You love what you do and you want to do it on your own. Perhaps you love the industry, you love a breed of horse, you love a discipline, you love a sport, something about this that you really, really love, and you just want to completely immerse yourself in it. And so you go into business so that you can do that in a more complete fashion. Or perhaps you want to create wealth. Business is a very good way to do that. Not everybody is cut out to be a real estate investor or a stock trader. Just 2 ways that we know creates wealth. Businesses have 2 ways that they create wealth. You can create what is called a lifestyle business, This is a kind of business that has relatively low overhead, doesn't take a whole lot to run it, and the cash flow is pretty good. You can live off the cash flow, you can put some aside. When you're ready to retire, you can sell the business perhaps, or you can just let it die. You've got the money socked away. Or you can sell a business. You create something. You create a business that has value that you build up over time, and then you can sell it. Many, many, many wealthy people have come into wealth, created wealth rather, through the sale of a business that they built up. So the first horse business marketing mastery mindset is do what you love, but follow the money. Don't assume the money will follow. You must consciously, specifically follow the money. First off, you figure out what it is you do best, and you do it. Don't do what someone else tells you. When you know what you knew best, do it. Then you build a team that does the rest so that you can focus on what you do the best. If you are a trainer or a riding instructor, or you run a boarding stable or some other kind of stable, you're probably already doing some of this. You're giving lessons and you have someone who comes in and cleans the stalls. You have somebody who makes hay and hopefully delivers it for you. You probably have a farrier who comes in and trims and shoes. You should have somebody who builds a website for you. And I just bet you've got a mechanic somewhere that you take your vehicles to for maintenance and or repair. Especially on newer vehicles these days. What most people don't know to do is to follow the money. By following the money, I mean first you leverage your aptitude and skill. Tip number one there, do what you do best, right? You leverage your aptitude and skill in doing what you do best to get really, really skilled at that. You become a real expert. Then you're able to raise your hourly rates. And while I don't really have time to go through this today, there are many ways in which you can easily do this with riding lessons and even with training horses. Raise your hourly rate first. Okay? Then you get into a team work kind of project where you charge a premium rate and then you hand off pieces of the work to others, to specialists. Horse industry example might be in prepping a horse and rider team for an international competition, where you bring in, the riding instructor, you bring in a trainer, you bring in a farrier, a vet, chiropractor, massage therapist, whatever all, specialists that you need. The next step is in percentage pricing, where you charge, where you get a percentage of the business. This is where wealth begins, because now you're not just talking revenues and cash flow, but you're also talking potentially equity. An example of this might be of a stallion syndicate. And you have a group of people who've put money together. They've acquired a stallion, they're marketing and competing him, and then he has, performance in the breeding shed, where we're selling foals, we're selling breedings. And that share of ownership can increase in value, and when he is generally sold off, then you get a percentage of the pot. Proprietor pricing is where we start coming into real equity. And equity is where real wealth lies. This is when you own the company and you hold all the value. That's what equity means, value. Okay? You're able to develop that equity to sell it or trade it for something else. This is where real wealth lies. Okay, so now we're going to take a much closer look at the line of money, or as it's sometimes called, the ladder of money. And as you remember, premium pricing was the first rung. This is where you start ramping up your hourly fees because you've gotten really good at what you're doing. Instead of the person down the road who's charging $25 an hour for a riding lesson, you're charging $75, $150. If you're good, you can do that. And there's other ways to increase how much you're making per hour with like group lessons or such. But if you're good enough and you have, the skill, you can do that. You can charge that if you can sell the value of it. Then we have project pricing. This is the second rung. This is where you're working on a project basis and you can hand off pieces of that project to other professionals. And you're probably already doing a little bit of that. Like I was saying, you have a stable and you're training horses, you're training riders. You have someone who comes in and cleans the stalls. You have someone who comes in and feeds them. You have, a professional farrier who comes in and does their feet. You've got, professional vets. You've got these people that hand off pieces of the job. You don't do the whole thing. And then we have percentage pricing. This is where you work for a percentage of the profits. You might be like a partner in a venture. And then the fourth rung is proprietor pricing. This is where you build equity in the business. Okay? And we will come back and look at this again in a few minutes. But what a proprietor setup might be is he owns the Stallion Syndicate that we mentioned a few moments ago. He owns the Stallion Syndicate. He's got his own money he can invest in it. He owns these stallions as they, start to increase in value, and their value is going up, and they're coming into demand for foals and breeding. Then you sell off that horse and find another one that you can bring up. It's value. And the whole point of building equity, though, is to be able to sell off the company or pieces of the company so that you now, have that money from it. Okay, the horse business marketing mastery mindset number 2 that is important to building real wealth is save less and earn more. So, back to square one, we follow concept number 1, which was do what we do best. Now, saving to wealth, contrary to some very popular individuals' opinions, is not the best path. There are people who are still selling this concept, that saving to wealth is the way to get there. However, if you look at what they did in order to get wealthy, they did not follow this advice. They did not follow their own advice. So what should you do? Should you do what they did, or should you do what they say to do? Okay. Saving, as I said, is not a viable strategy. It takes too long. It does not take inflation into account. What you save today gets eaten by inflation tomorrow. It also sets you up with a wrong kind of mind frame. You end up having to cut corners, and you end up with a mindset of lack rather than a mindset of abundance. There's never enough money for this, there's never enough money for that, you have to put it all away. What you need to be doing is you need to have an optimistic outlook, one of abundance, and it's far easier to create wealth by finding good deals to do than it is to save money. It's easier and it's faster. So a better path is to follow the earnings ladder that we saw on the last slide. Again, start by raising your hourly rates, move to project pricing, then to percentage pricing, and lastly into proprietor pricing. So to achieve that, we first have to learn to ask more often and ask for more. This isn't as big a deal for men as it is for women. Women typically have a much harder time with asking. I think that it has to do with the way that we're raised, the fact that this is a male-oriented society rather than a female-oriented society. We're taught to take what we can get, take what we're given, and don't ask. So that's what we learn to do. So women typically make less money. They get promoted less often because they don't ask as much and they don't ask for more. Women who ask as often and for as much as men earn the same, they earn on the same par as men do. Horse business marketing mastery mindset number 3 that is critical to building wealth is to imitate. Don't put so much emphasis on innovation. Here we want to do what works. We don't want to test out new ideas. We don't want to test new markets, new technology, because these are all notorious for taking too much time and money and working out the bugs, the strategies, everything. We want something that's easy to imitate, is proven, and it works. Yes, by all means, adding your own twist to it is wonderful, as long as you can still perform it brilliantly. Do what works. You want to let others work out the bugs, educate the market, and so forth. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of belief in yourself to do all of those things. Let somebody else do it. Let somebody else do the heavy lifting. Plus, you have to be very careful to follow the demand of the market. Many products and services have been introduced well before their time, meaning the bugs hadn't been worked out, the market hadn't been educated. Once the bugs get worked out and the market has been educated as to why they need this, then it's easy to sell it. So do what the market says it wants, not necessarily what you know it needs. If you want to get wealthy, it's a lot easier. Horse business marketing mastery mindset number 4. Know who is more important than know how. So again, we go back to concept number 1. Do what you do best. That means you get very good in very specialized, in very specialized specific areas. Don't go out and try to learn everything about the whole thing. You're not going to be as good in your one thing as you would be if you learned a little bit about everything. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to build a network, and you are going to keep this network focused. Here's why. 80% of your business is coming from 20% of your customers. And you want to keep those relationships close, almost intimate. You can't manage more than a few of these relationships. It's just like on a social network. You end up working, interacting with maybe 5 to 10 people. There's only so many people you can actually interact with on a regular basis, and keeping those interactions of a high quality. So with that in mind, you do what is called managing upwards. You gently cull unproductive contacts and you add new ones that are more productive. Now, here's an interesting statistic. The larger the business is, the smaller that nodal network is. That's because it's been managed upwards, it's been tightened, it's been, made very, very productive. Horse business marketing mastery mindset number 5 can be a tough one for people. Win-win is a loser. Well, let's take a really brief look at why that might be. While the law of attraction is very, attractive, what it usually fails to address, and I don't believe I've ever seen it once tell people this. Anybody has it. That is law of attraction. I've never seen anybody tell people this. That you get what you negotiate, not what you deserve. That is why there are so many proverbial starving artists in the world. But I'm good. Why shouldn't people be clamoring to get my stuff? Well, it doesn't work that way. You get what you negotiate. Can you negotiate those deals? This is why a lousy trainer, and we've all seen these people, haven't we? This is why a lousy trainer can be manhandling horses into so-called readiness for international competition. And they take them out there and they win, and they win, and they win, and they win. It's like, why? This guy is just abusing these horses. Doesn't anybody recognize this? And the truly talented trainer sits in the shadows. When you go into a negotiation with win-win as your outcome, you're negotiating yourself out of what you need for that deal. Let me say that again. When you go into a negotiation with win-win as your outcome, you negotiate yourself out of what you need for the deal. If you go in for a win-win against a more experienced negotiator, you're liable to be the party that makes all the concessions. You end up being the wimp, and the other side is the winner. Now, not all bad, because here's some ways to fix that. First off, have your goals in writing. Have them written down, have them in front of you. You are much more likely to vigorously defend them. Most people set goals that are entirely too modest. They completely fail to prepare, and they lack any desire. Going into negotiation, know more about the other side. Negotiators that do more discovery, that put in the extra effort, tend to produce better outcomes. The more you understand what is important to the other party, the more likely it is that you can actually arrive at a true win-win with minimal sacrifice on your part. Set a baseline for what you want and what you will concede. Have this in writing in front of you. Then you know when it's time to walk away. Horse Business Marketing Mastery Mindset number 6. Spread the work, spread the wealth. Again, this goes back to number 1. Do what you do best. Yes, you're going to hear that a few more times before we're done. Do what you do best. Do what you enjoy the most, what you are most skilled at, and outsource the rest. Now, this also means that you are going to build a team. Not just with hiring people to come in and do the mundane things like clean stalls and feed the horses and do their feet and groom, but you're also going to bring on people that are advisors, coaches, and consultants. And you probably already have a few people that are, operating in this capacity. If you are in an equestrian career, your riding instructor and or your trainer, if you have one of those, are probably serving in this capacity a little bit for you as well. But from a purely business perspective, you need business advisors, business coaches, and business consultants because you are going out of your depth, right? You set some ambitious goals. Ambitious means it is out of your comfort zone. You don't know what you're doing in order to get there. The whole point of these ambitious goals is to take you out of your comfort zone. So now you need people who know how to navigate in those waters, who can advise you, who can coach you, who are familiar with these areas. And the higher up you go in your business, the bigger your business is, the more specific they need to be in their areas of speciality. So you might end up hiring people like a VA or a project manager, perhaps. Not all VAs, now that's a virtual assistant. Not all VAs are project managers. Just like you, they have their strengths. You are going to want one to help you keep you organized, help you organize some of the other helpers perhaps that you need in your business. One thing that you absolutely must have these days is a proper website. And while we don't have time to cover what that entails today, but while the quality of the websites has gone up over the past 20 years, Most people still don't know what they need to have on it. And so they settle for a nice website, but it doesn't do the job that's needed. Largely, again, they don't know what they need. But again, with the website and going back to your team, you should absolutely, positively have somebody else put that up for you, because you can't afford to spend the time it takes to learn all that technology, to maintain it, to debug it, to all the things that have to be done on it. And it's completely not needed. There are so many super skilled, amazing rock star web designers and webmasters out there for the hiring. You have your pick of them. Don't waste your time with messing around with a website. Graphic artists, that's another area where you shouldn't be messing. Have somebody else do it. And then, of course, there's the requisite legal, tax, bookkeeping type professionals. These people are experts for a reason. They're there to do their little piece of your job. Do not have them running your business. You do not want an attorney running your business. You do not want an accountant running your business. They are there to be advisors, consultants, and help you protect yourself, yes. But they should never be running your business, ever. And if you move up the earnings ladder, you might need corporate level expertise. Now, you do not need to go back to school and get an MBA. I don't care who you are. You don't need it. This expertise can be hired cheaply enough, given the need, and even on a part-time basis, if necessary, for a smaller operation. Don't go back and get your MBA. You need to focus on what you're skilled at. Horse Business Marketing Mastery Mindset number 7 is that failure equals success. You cannot have any success without failure first. Watch a little baby when it learns how to walk. Does that little kid just stand up and start trucking off? No. They fall over 1,000 times before they end up actually walking. And the same goes with business. Now, wealthy self-made entrepreneur and the middle class have completely different positions on this mindset. And this is a good acid test to see where it is that you are right now. A middle class's objective with failure is twofold. 1, avoid it at any cost. Any cost. And 2, hide it if it is ever encountered. The wealthy self-made entrepreneur takes a polar opposite position. Failure is to be embraced and used as a learning tool. Guess what we're going to learn? It gives you the opportunity to learn what you do best. All comes back down to that basic. What do you do best? Sometimes it gives you a guidance, as to what market to be in, where your love is, what your passion is. Sometimes it's, about an approach that you should take to a market or a product. Sometimes it usually takes quite a bit to hone a proper approach to something. Rule of thumb is to try a thing several times, at least 3 times. That gives you the opportunity to build the skill, to build the right approach to the situation. And the one thing to avoid is having such a huge failure that you don't rebound from it. You can learn quite a bit about team building from failures and so forth. Horse Business Marketing Mastery Mindset number 8. I said there were 7. There's 8. Number 8 is mastering the mundane. Rule number 1, master the basics. Just as we do with a high-level riding, mastery of the basics is paramount. Just as when a horse or a student that we're training runs into issues, we go back to the basics, right? Well, same thing applies to business and wealth building. Master the basics. We've just been over them. We'll be over them again before we're done here. Master the basics. Rule number 2, it's all basics. Here's a little story for you. And it's called the Toyota Way of Medical Care. In May of 2003, Dr. Richard Shannon of Allegheny General Hospital in Pittsburgh took his intensive care unit staff on a mission to completely eradicate life-threatening infections. Now, just for a little background, tens of thousands of patients die yearly from infections that they get in the hospital. They did not have this infection at home. They got it in the hospital. Dr. Shannon had taken a 5-day training in a healthcare process adapted from the Toyota car making system. Imagine that. We have a system. Allegheny General Hospital Intensive Care Unit started out with 47 infections and 19 deaths from those infections the year before. And within 60 days of implementing the new process, all without learning any new skills, without adding any staff, without adding any equipment, without bringing in any outside consultants, took that number down to 0. It saves lives. It saves the unit $500,000 in medical costs, and it could save $1 million to that hospital if it was applied to the whole facility. Now that's the kind of thing that you can do with your business, your career, when you implement mastery of the basics of business. Let's take a quick look at those basics. The acronym we use is LEAP. Now, the good news is that many skills for business brilliance can be learned and enhanced. These are basics, right? You already know how to do these things. You just have to learn how to methodically apply them, just as the Allegheny General Hospital methodically applied what they already knew to reduce their infection rates to nothing, to 0. Nobody got sick from an infection they picked up in that unit. Nobody died. The first skill is learning. Self-made millionaires, highly successful business people expend more time and effort discovering what they do best and in pursuing opportunities related to those things. Earning means that they take on projects and make deals that maximize the dollar potential of those opportunities while limiting their downside risks. Assistance means that they actively cultivate networks of friends, associates, and partners so that they can get the help and advice on all the tasks beyond the bounds of what they do best. Remember, do what you do best. Persistence means that they take an authentic interest in their setbacks as an important and necessary aspect of the success process. Oops, persistence. Okay. So now as we go through these, you're going to see that this, again, it's just a recap and kind of expansion on what we've already discussed today. Learning includes writing down your goals. I know, I've said it about a dozen times already, and you've heard it from other people. Write down your goals. Set ambitious, audacious goals. Write them down because you are more prone to defend them, believe them, and do real things towards them. Here's the exercise. Write this down. Take 20 minutes. Choose a goal for your net worth and write it down as year 10 on the right-hand side of a piece of paper. Then you are going to move from right to left. Write down your average monthly income goals for years 5, 4, 3, and 2. How much do you have to average monthly for each of those years? So you're going to end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers on your sheet of paper right now. Finally, write down your average monthly income goals for each month of the coming year, starting with next month. Post this sheet in a place where you can see it every day from your desk. Repeat the process every time you complete a deal or you have a windfall. Okay. Number 2, commit to what you do best. Take 10 minutes to do what is called a centering exercise. You are going to write down as many examples of tasks as you can that you do exceptionally well. Try to choose skills and capabilities you think you could convincingly explain to a stranger who has some knowledge in your field of expertise. Repeat the process for 10 minutes tomorrow. So 10 minutes today, 10 minutes tomorrow. Then start editing your list until you have only 3 items. Next to each remaining item, write down 3 clear statements that provide evidence that these items are true. Okay, so now you're starting to hone in on what it is that you do, and you're providing some proof of them. Okay, now we are going to work on following the money. Okay, take 20 minutes. This is the exercise. Take 20 minutes, take your list of 3 things that you do extremely well from the previous exercise, and write down the occupations that, to your knowledge, most often use those skills to make the most money. Okay? With a little bit of thought, you'll have 2 to 3 things you have never considered before. Now we are going to climb the line of money ladder. Now, as we went over before, this line of money ladder has the 4 rungs. It starts with premium pricing, where you cultivate such high demand for your time that you can bid up your hourly rates. Then we move on to project pricing, where you charge as much as you can, and then you hand off pieces of the project to other professionals to get the job done more quickly. Percentage pricing, now the deal includes a bonus percentage for delivering a winning effort. Proprietor pricing, which is now equity participation. You own the team now. Okay, so the exercise is take 30 minutes, draw the 4-rung ladder. When you're done, you'll have ideas for 12 projects arrayed from lowest value to highest, each building on the next. This is your path, and redo it every time you land a new project. Okay? So here we have premium pricing, and you're going to have 2 or 3 projects there. And then you're going to have project pricing, where you charge as much as you can, and then you hand the pieces off to other professionals to get it done, and come up with 2 or 3 projects there. And then percentage pricing, where you get a percentage of the deal, and then proprietor pricing, where you own the team. It's a very exciting, it's a very enlightening exercise. Okay. Next comes earning. Now, once you're ready to take on a specific project, your focus needs to shift from learning to earning. Earning is how ideas turn into opportunities. So 1, we're going to run the numbers. There are 5 critical factors to any project, and you want to write these down. This is also called the pro forma. Okay? What will it cost to play? What will it cost to stay? How high is the ceiling? How hard is the floor? And how big is the cherry on top? Okay, you're going to take 30 minutes to draw up the pro forma. You will leave lots of room for what you don't know and what you need to find out. Numbers may be approximations, but what it does is it forces you to come to grips with what it takes to succeed. Okay? Play is pretty self-explanatory. Stay is probably fairly self-explanatory. You know, how much cash do you have to put in? How much labor? How much time? does that take? The ceiling is what is the best possible outcome of the project. The floor is what is the worst possible outcome. What do you need in order to, break even? The cherry is all of those soft benefits that you get from a deal. And we'll go over that here in just a moment. Somewhere here. The cherry is an important number. Okay. So you're going to protect your bottom line. Here's the next exercise. Take 20 minutes. Consider your short-term goals and how much money you need from this deal to contribute to those goals. Remember, we just sat down and we wrote out our goals, and it was a financial goal, and we split it up into different years, and then we split up the last one into months. How much money do you need from this deal to contribute to those goals? Compromising your goal just to get a deal done is the fastest way out of business mastery. Putting too much at stake in the deal can keep you outside of the line of money for years. Don't take so much risk that if a project fails, you will lack the resources to try again. Protect your bottom line. Then we are going to press your advantage. As you're building your team, you want to bring people to the table based on their strength. But you will negotiate with them according to their weakness. For each team member, redo the pro forma from their point of view before negotiating on price or equity, so that you know where they're coming from. You know their numbers, probably better than they do. Most people do not do these exercises. And number 7, plan the divorce in advance. Every good partnership should have the divorce terms built in. You need to have a way to cut the cord on a deal that goes bad. Use your pro forma to anticipate what might go wrong and under what conditions you want the divorce clause to either let you out with a minimum of loss or to give you leverage in negotiating for more money. Okay? You need to propose this divorce terms and provide a draft of them for it to work best for you. Don't leave it up to somebody else to negotiate your divorce terms, because if you do, it'll work for them and not you. Okay, we're going to take a real quick look at the pro forma here. What does it cost to play? What does it cost to get started? How much cash? How much labor? Anything else? What does it cost to stay? How much cash will it take? How much labor? Operating costs? Anything, whatever. What is the ceiling? What is the best possible estimated outcome? And the floor? What is the worst possible outcome? What do you need in order to break even? And the cherry. The cherry could be something like, these soft benefits. It might be, an improved track record. It could be new connections, a higher public profile, anything of that nature. You do need to put a dollar price on it, though. And your dollar price is what your buyout price would be. If somebody walked up to you and said, I want to buy you out, what is your price? So it's the buyout price minus the cash that you've put in. That's the cherry. You need a dollar amount for that. Okay? A is for assistance. Contrary to popular belief, it does not take money to make money. But it does take teamwork and support. You cannot do it all, and you shouldn't try, because then you are not doing what you do best. Now, Self-made millionaires maintain an average circle of 6 people with whom they closely network in order to source new business. They are not collecting random business acquaintances. Okay, they may have plenty of those, but what they are doing is they are maintaining a deliberately compact set of capable people, each serving as a strategic point of contact, which we call a node, okay, for their business, for that business person's channel of trade. Okay, so for the exercise, take 10 minutes. Make a list of the top dozen people that you would go to tomorrow for advice on finding a new project in the work you do best. Okay? A list of 12 people you would go to tomorrow for advice. Rank the top 6 that you are closest to or who are best positioned to help you. Okay? Now, you are going to manage upwards because things are always in flux. That's the nature of life. Everything changes. And the best way to deal with change is to take that into your own hands. Accept that your nodal network, which we just got done talking about, right? Your nodal network is the most valuable asset you have. And then manage it just as you would any asset portfolio. Keep a sharp eye out for new promising network members while withdrawing connections from underperformers. Okay, and a way to do this is to put together 7 file folders. These can be either paper or on the computer. Mark one folder each with the 6 names that you came up with. So you have a folder for each person. Then add as much information as you have on each person into their folder. You want to know about their business aspirations, their personal aspirations, all that good stuff. The 7th folder is marked bench. And into this you put information on potentials. Update these things weekly to reevaluate the status of the network. Okay, now we're looking at building a team because again, you want to do what you do best and the rest needs to go to the team. Once you've committed to what you do very well, you will see people with complementary skills all around you. The ones that you don't know, that you don't see, that you aren't finding, are likely just a degree away from you via your nodal network. Remember, we set up this small focus network. Those people are there to help you. So take 30 minutes. This is the exercise. Take 30 minutes, do a quick pro forma on the one time-consuming task that you either don't do well or that you know you shouldn't be doing. It's there, isn't it? There's something you're doing that you shouldn't be. Some task, some chore, something that is wasting time, that's, you know what it is. Okay? Now, use the pro forma to calculate the minimum value that you could create if somebody else did that task. How much value could you create if you didn't have to worry about that task? Okay? Now, that number is your budget. Go find that person. Get creative. Find them. This works. Okay? 12, get a coach. You need somebody who will keep you accountable to your own goals and keep you from that will keep you accountable to your own goals and avoid procrastinating on your projects. No matter how proficient and goal-oriented you are, an effective coach makes you better. Okay, we're all equestrians here. We've all had riding lessons, and we know that a good riding lesson, a good riding instructor, a good riding coach makes us a better rider, right? Same thing goes for a business. Okay, you can also think of a coach as a boss you can fire, somebody to whom you are accountable, but not working for. Okay, you can make sure that there is always somebody there ready to help you avoid getting diverted and distracted from your goals. Okay, and how to find them? Interview a number of individuals before settling for somebody. Ask your nodal network for recommendations. And keep an eye out. Okay? So, how do self-made millionaires manage to succeed when on average they fail more often than everybody else? Good question. It's simple. They fail more often because they try more often. That's also why they succeed more often. So, we want to make friends with failure. The only thing worse than failing is failing to learn from failing. Let me say that again. The only thing worse than failing is failing to learn from failing. The self-made millionaire goes right back to whatever failed because they know it often takes more than a single attempt to gain the insight and knowledge required to succeed at it. Okay? Exercise. Write this down. Take 30 minutes. Look at the pro forma on the project that failed. Take down a few notes on each assumption within the pro forma that fell short. Actually write these down. Regardless of how you're doing it, if you're doing it on the computer, if you're doing it on paper, whatever, write these things down. Even if it's totally obvious, write it down. This makes it real. It gives you some firm points of reference, and it sets the stage for another try. Okay? So that's part one. Now, when rebounding from a failure, don't try to change other people. Right? Don't try to change other people. Put the responsibility on yourself. Assume that 70% is due to your action and 30% of the failure is on the circumstances. Okay? Exercise. Take 20 minutes. Go over the notes you made in the last exercise, in the Make Friends with Failure exercise, okay? Go over the notes you made on the pre-forma. Rewrite each element of what went wrong in language that makes you accountable for making sure it goes right the next time. Okay? Go over the notes you made, rewrite each element of what went wrong in language that makes you accountable for making sure it goes right the next time. Finding your business brilliance is an iterative process. That means it takes more than one try. You will try and try and try and try again. Okay? Exercise. Review your worksheets from the last two, Making Friends with Failure and Keeping Changes to Yourself. With this new information that you have, run the numbers. Do a new pro forma. Project looks a little different, doesn't it, now? Because you learned something and you changed some things. Procrastination is largely fed by fear of failure, which is very closely related to perfectionism. Perfectionism is when you try to make something absolutely, totally perfect before releasing it into the wild. Because you're afraid of failing. Taking action means that you keep making decisions, even if the information you have is incomplete, because a bad decision is better than no decision. When you do what you do best, When you set out with a strong set of goals, you are in the line of money, and you have a talented team and a strong network, the only real mistake you can make is of not trying. Okay, go back over the whole list of exercises. If you're procrastinating, find the one that may have gotten you stuck. When you're in doubt, rely on your network. If you're really stuck, you might need a new coach. They'll give you a new perspective. They'll get you off your duff. They'll get you moving. Okay? And 17, make your own luck. Now, lucky people nurture their goals and expect them to happen. They make the most of opportunities that come their way. They associate with people who consider themselves lucky. They turn misfortune into good luck by persevering and seeing the good side of even the worst circumstances. And I have read that people who are wealthy, who are successful, are optimistic. People who are poor and unsuccessful are pessimistic. I think this goes hand in hand with what we just talked about being lucky. Let's change the word a little bit. Okay, successful people nurture their goals and expect them to happen. Or optimistic people nurture their goals and expect them to happen. Okay? So, what would you do in this kind of situation where you're trying to make your own luck? First off, double down on what you do best. Press your advantage whenever and wherever you can. Work your network. Try and try again. Ask, ask, ask. Ask when it's uncomfortable. Ask for more than you need. Ask for what you're afraid to ask for, and ask for it more than once. Ask until no loses its sting and becomes a source of instruction. At the beginning of the call, I promised you a special gift if you stuck with us until the end, and here it is. 7 Steps to Belief Change is your bonus video on how to identify, leverage, and rebuild a belief all by yourself. You will be able to accomplish more than you ever imagined possible once you master these steps. You can download your own copy at horsemarketingmastery.com/bonus1. And thank you for joining me. I hope this has been helpful. I hope you've learned something from it. And if you have questions, do feel free to be in contact with me. Drop me an email, leave a comment on the website, whatever works best for you, and I will get back to you. Thank you very much.